Right now, somewhere, a parent is frozen in a dark hallway at 3 a.m. because their baby just laughed. Not a whimper, not a reflex grunt, a full, unmistakable, delighted laugh, directed at absolutely nothing. You've been there. You stood there with your phone half raised, caught between recording it and just staring. Researchers have been documenting this exact behavior since the 1960s, and what they found was not what any of them expected. Because what your baby is doing in that dark room isn't random. It may be one of the most neurologically sophisticated things a human brain is capable of doing at any age. That laugh in the dark, that is your baby's brain doing something no machine on earth can replicate. But before we get there, there's a myth almost every parent believes about this moment, and it's wrong. The explanation you've probably heard sounds reasonable. It's gas, or random motor twitches. The newborn brain is too undeveloped to generate anything like a real emotional experience, so what you're seeing is essentially biological noise. Circuits misfiring, nothing more. That sounds plausible. And it's partly true. Neonatal reflexes are real, well documented, and account for a lot of early infant behaviour. But here's the problem with that theory. Random twitches don't produce coordinated facial expressions. The zygomaticus major, the specific muscle that pulls your mouth into a genuine social smile, fires in organised, sequenced patterns during these nighttime episodes. Not randomly, organised, sequenced. Second, these expressions cluster almost exclusively in active sleep, the REM equivalent phase, not in the deep, slow wave sleep where actual noise occurs. And third, the timing of these laughs correlates with measurable spikes in brain electrical activity, not the silence you'd expect from a system that's offline. That is not a reflex. That is a performance. So if it's not gas, what is the brain actually doing? In 1966, 3 researchers, Roffwarg, Muzio, and Dement, published a landmark study in Science that reframed how developmental neuroscientists think about infant sleep. What they found: newborns spend roughly 50% of their total sleep time in active sleep, the phase where the brain is electrically alive, generating the same kind of complex neural firing patterns associated with dreaming in adults. For context, a healthy adult spends about 20 to 25% of their night in that state. Your baby nearly doubles it. And this is not an accident of immature biology. Roffwarg's team proposed in subsequent research has supported that this elevated active sleep is the mechanism the developing brain uses to stimulate its own growth, to wire itself, in the absence of enough waking experience to do the job. Think of it this way: when you sleep, you are resting the structure. When your baby sleeps, they are pouring concrete, setting the load-bearing walls of the social and emotional mind that will hold everything else up for the next 80 years. While you sleep 8 hours to rest, your baby sleeps to build. But here's where it gets counterintuitive, because what the brain is building at 3 a.m., it can only build by using your face as the blueprint, which seems backward until you understand why. If your baby is asleep, if your face isn't even in the room, how can your face be the blueprint? Because the brain doesn't build from what's in front of it right now. It builds from what it has already internalized, the emotional data it has been absorbing, cataloging, and filing since the first moment your face appeared above theirs after birth. Research on social referencing, developed by Campos and Stenberg in the early 1980s, established that infants as young as 8 months use a caregiver's face as a calibration instrument for their own emotional responses to the world, looking at you to determine whether something is safe or dangerous, interesting or alarming. But the rehearsal starts earlier than that, far earlier. You smile, they encode it, you look frightened, they file it, you laugh, and at 3 a.m. in a dark room without you, your baby's brain runs the file again and again. building the circuitry that will one day let them read another human face in under 200 milliseconds. You are not just their parent, you are the source code their brain is running at 3 a.m., and we know exactly how deep that dependency goes because of one experiment that broke the hearts of every researcher in the room. In 1978, developmental psychologist Edward Tronick at Harvard Medical School designed an experiment called the still face paradigm. It is one of the most replicated and most quietly devastating experiments in the history of infant research. Here is what happens. A parent sits face to face with their baby. They interact normally, smiling, talking, responding. The baby laughs, reaches, fully engages. Every signal sent, received. Every signal received, returned. Then the parent goes expressionless. Blank, still, no anger, no sadness, just nothing. And your baby tries everything. They point, they smile harder, they vocalize, they reach. For up to 90 seconds, they throw every social tool they have at a face that has gone silent because their nervous system recognizes, before they have a single word for it, that something essential has been removed. And then they collapse inward. Heart rate rises. Cortisol, the primary stress hormone, increases at levels measurable in a saliva sample. From one face, 90 seconds, 0 words. Your face is not decoration, it is infrastructure. Your baby's nervous system requires it to function. The Harvard Center on the Developing Child has a framework for this. They call it serve and return. Every time your baby sends a signal, a laugh, a look, a reach, and you respond, you are completing a circuit. And it is inside those completed circuits that the prefrontal cortex gets built. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for planning, decision-making, impulse control, and emotional regulation. The architecture that will govern who your child becomes as a person. It is almost entirely a post-birth construction project, which means it is not handed to your baby pre-assembled. It is built piece by piece through interaction. You are not watching development happen. You are the material it is made from. Every time you respond, you are writing code. Every time you don't, there is a line missing, which means there is something specific you need to know and watch for. Here is the red flag, and I want you to hear it clearly without alarm. A baby who consistently avoids eye contact during waking interaction, who doesn't track your face when you move across the room, who seems to look through you rather than at you, as if the signal you're sending isn't landing, who doesn't mirror any expression across multiple interactions over several weeks. That pattern is worth noting, not diagnosing, noting, because it doesn't mean something is wrong. Every baby develops on their own timeline, and single moments mean almost nothing in isolation. But pediatric neuroscientists are clear. The earlier a developmental variance is identified, the more the brain's extraordinary plasticity can be engaged. Early attention changes outcomes, and the research on that is not ambiguous. And here is what you need to trust. You have been reading your baby's face since the first hour they were alive. No researcher has logged those hours. No algorithm has that data. You are probably the most finely calibrated instrument in the world for detecting a change in your own child. Because love, it turns out, is an extraordinarily precise measuring tool. 15,000 years of human evolution did not give your baby a face that laughs in the dark by accident. That laugh is a transmission, a signal sent into the dark, looking for a signal back. And every time you answer it, even at 3 a.m., even half asleep, even just by existing in the same room, you are answering the oldest question the human brain knows how to ask. Am I not alone? If this changed how you see the babies in your life, subscribe to this channel and drop a comment below. Was there a moment where your baby laughed in the dark and you stood there not knowing whether to be amazed or terrified? Because next time, we're going somewhere that science and something else overlap, It's 3 a.m. again. Your baby is awake, but they're not looking at you. They're staring at an empty corner of the ceiling, completely still, completely focused, watching something only they can see. And the science behind what that is stranger than any explanation you've heard before. This content is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice. If you have concerns about your baby's development, please consult a qualified pediatrician.